Today we have this wonderful gospel story of Mary and joyfully, gladfully, wonderfully come together to after one another in nurture, support and care. One thinking it would never happen and one not quite sure how it did. Both pregnant. Without hesitation, without question, they embrace and ululate in delight. Together these expecting women wait. Expectant and waiting, it gives waiting a purpose, this kind of waiting. Amanda, your journey to ordination involved a lot of waiting. Waiting with expectation. It is this way when any of us are discerning our way toward that which feels like a heart call. In true point of fact, the ordination process of discerning can feel a little bit more like waiting with hope, rather than expectation. Confirmation that you will actually be ordained doesn't happen until after that final discernment interview, or in Amanda's case, Zoomernment interview. It's done by those who are vested with such task. Your journey toward ordination, Amanda, as I reflect on it, has been one of many firsts. Not just having to do a final discernment interview via Zoom, but 2 years of training through lockdowns, bouncing from in-person to online engagement. And at the end, that wonderful collective ordination retreat was done at home and online, the pre-ordination retreat. And then, of course, the ordination service was one of a multiple of them. But perhaps it's apt that your process to ordination was like that. Because let's face it, we're living in a world of firsts, many firsts, both globally and locally. We're living in a time of bewildering change that demands constant adaptation. And it is into this time and this place that you, Amanda, and in fact each one of us here, is to be, is to speak, is to enact whatever we understand good news gospel to be. And it's a time of change that's not over there happening to somebody else. As we go through it, we ourselves are changed. Having the gift or the privilege of reflecting on Heather's life this week, we lived 80 years, and you think of those long years, how fast change now happens to us. You know, change happened over time, but particularly recently, rapid change. We're speeding through time. So when we think about the idea of waiting with expectation, I think we're more familiar with the idea of waiting with impatience. Waiting is just not a thing we like to do much anymore. I think most of us here can remember a time before cell phones. What on earth did you do with all that time you weren't on your phone? What did you do in that time? I have distinct memories as a child when I had a large family sitting around the dining room table with very strong disputes going on, and my father would say, "Well, just a moment," he'd walk across to the encyclopedia shelf and pull out the encyclopedia to find out the evidence. You see, we have all these devices to make our life more efficient, but the net effect of them is that we are going faster and we are expecting more. Patient waiting has become an exercise in frustration because it doesn't seem to get us anywhere. We sort of feel passive and powerless. We need for us to get on, we need to take the initiative and make things happen. But I wonder whether in our rush we have lost something. I wonder whether we've lost some quality living. So as I've shared with one or two people with delight, I read this account of a woman called Jennifer Roberts in a book, a wonderful book called 4,000 Weeks, which is about how many weeks we get on average to live. Jennifer is a teacher of art history at Harvard University. The first assignment she sets her students is this. They have to choose a painting or a sculpture in a local museum. Then they have to go and look at it for 3 hours straight. Most of her students are horrified by this, but she insists that it takes 3 hours precisely because she knows it's a painfully long time. She recognises that her students face so many external pressures to move fast that she felt she needed to give them a permission to spend this kind of time on anything, to give them a different set of rules and constraints than the ones that dominate their lives. So the author of this book, a chap called Oliver Berkman, he decided he'd do it. And he writes this: here's what happened when you spend 3 unbroken hours on a small fold-out seat at the Harvard Art Museum looking at cotton merchants in New Orleans, a painting by Edgar Degas, with your phone, laptop and other distractions safely stowed out of reach in the cloakroom. You spend the first 40 minutes wondering what on earth you'd been thinking. You remember that you always hated art galleries. You contemplate shifting paintings from a work that strikes you as a self-evidently tedious choice. It shows 3 men in a room inspecting some bales of cotton, to a nearby alternative which seems to show tiny souls being tortured in hell. But then you're forced to admit to yourself that to make a fresh start by picking a new painting would be to succumb to the very impatience you're here to resist, and attempt to seize control over your experience in precisely the way you're seeking to avoid. And so you wait. Grumpiness gives way to fatigue, then restless irritation. Time slows and sags. You wonder if an hour has passed. Check your watch. 17 minutes. Then, around the 80-minute mark, I'm not quite sure exactly, there's a shift. You finally give up attempting to escape the discomfort of time passing so slowly. And the discomfort abates. And the Degas begins to reveal its secret details. Before long, you're experiencing the scene in all its sensory fullness. Now that you've abandoned your futile efforts to dictate the speed at which the experience moves, the real experience can begin. Your reward is to achieve a real sense of purpose of that reality, of really getting stuck into life. I had to read it, I just love the way it writes. Such waiting as this reveals that we have patience. It reveals a capacity to engage deeply and intimately with life. Because now is where life's happening. Waiting, patience, expectation, these are all Advent words. We meet Elizabeth and Mary today. Each is pregnant in unlikely circumstances, and yet there they are. And they are pivotal to our story. Elizabeth overflows with these words: "Blessed is she who believed that what our God said to her would be accomplished." I'll say that again. Blessed is she who believed that what our God said to her would be accomplished. What has this to do with our hyper-fast driven world? For many, if they are listening at all, incredulity may bring them to a screaming halt. One way to slow people down. I want to pause a moment and just ask the question about why that is so. We're so credulous before this idea that someone will believe in what God said when it comes to be. Is it the unlikely improbability of the story? Is it that we see no use for the story? Is it that implausible notion that God's up there dabbling down here? Maybe we're just generally impatient to get on and don't want to waste our time thinking about what seems irrelevant. But if we can persuade ourselves to pause a moment and to be willing to look into the story, I want us to shuffle back just a little bit. Where Mary meets meets Gabriel and what is said between them before she gets pregnant. Because what we learn is that Mary is just as incredulous. She doesn't get it either. She doesn't comprehend what Gabriel is saying to her. Gabriel doesn't then lay it all carefully out and explain it to her. What he says to Mary is this: the Holy Spirit presence, she will embrace Mary within the shadow of her unknown. Mary is not promised her life will be easy and understandable or painless. Instead, Mary is promised that she will be called to participate in a work that is so holy, it will bring her to the edge of herself every day. And it is precisely there, at the edge of herself, doing that holy work every day, that she will be upheld. That is the promise. The story of God indwelling flesh, we use the word incarnation, pretty foundational to the Christian story. So maybe we are being told every day, you, I, each of us, Amanda, you are being called to participate in a work, whatever your work is, so holy that it brings you to the edge of yourself. And you are not given certainty, you're not given explanation or happy ever after promises. But you are invited to be present to what you don't know, to your unknown, and to trust it is in that place you will be sustained and flourish, in that place of perilous uncertainty. It is a call to be present to life, to the fragile, magnificent, holy poise of each gossamer breath moment, utterly terrifying in its aliveness. This is a story that we tell in this place. It is a compelling antidote to the story we live out mostly, which is that we have to be in a rush and in a tearing hurry to quite where, do you imagine? To paraphrase Paul, there is a powerful potency in a person who has the capacity to resist the urge to hurry. The person who has the capacity to allow things to take the time they take. Because that is a way to gain purchase on the world. To do work that counts. And to derive satisfaction from the doing itself. Instead of deferring all your fulfillment to some time in the future. Let us wait with the expectation. Let us be present to our waiting.